Guy McPherson here with Peter Miller, and this is the third in a series of videos. I would strongly recommend you go to the first video, which was released Monday, June 17th, to get an overview of the half a dozen videos to follow, including this one. These came from the Colorado University at Boulder, and they are focused on mental health. In fact, the title is, here are some tactics that can help you develop healthy coping skills around climate change. It's all about climate anxiety and mental health and the nexus between the two. And the item for today is avoid overload. And Peter, I'm going to turn this over to you right now.
Okay.
Talk to us about avoiding overload.
Well, it sounds like that whole when people talk about work-life balance, when I hear about that, and in the article, I think it talks about like being careful not to over-involve yourself in different causes about, the things that you would like to see change in the world. Um, if you're, talking about the subject too much, or if you're participating maybe in, I don't know, environmental causes in your local area or even abroad, or if I don't know, maybe you write articles or write books and things where you'd like to have an influence. You can do those things to a point, but I mean, if you're going to be doing it, you know for hours and hours every day or throughout the week, you'll probably, I don't know. It could be very disheartening, maybe, for one. It's kind of like when they say don't watch the news too much. I think that's in that article too.
Right.
The news tends to focus on things that get our fight, flight, freeze response going, things that kind of scare us. The news likes to focus on that, probably to get an audience because it works better than positive news.
Right.
Positive news, people don't really get drawn to it, like, or what is it all about? So yeah, the mainstream news, I think they focus on the unfortunate and the sad things about life. So I mean, if you get really enveloped in that and you think about it regularly, you'll probably lose sight of some of the good things that are still happening, and that can be part of your experience in life and in relationships. Um, but yeah, overload, like it's like don't work too much. Take some time to smell the flowers, take some time to play, visit friends. Even if there's horrible things happening. Um, I mean, if you get lost in it, or if you get depleted and totally burned out, what good will you be for anyone,
Exactly.
right? And I mean, I meet with lots of workaholics in my work because it can be a common way of trying to cope and distract yourself from some of the emotions that you haven't learned how to feel yet, right? So I think that's the workaholic's philosophy of life, just kind of like work yourself to death and stay distracted so that you never have to feel what you don't want to feel. If you take a minute to relax, some thoughts and feelings might come into your body that you don't like. So just keep working.
Not that I know anything about avoiding overload, but I used to tell my graduate advisees that there's 128 hours in a week. Don't waste any of them. And I would routinely work 70, 80, sometimes 85 hours in a week, which leaves very little time for sleep. And I didn't understand the idea of burnout until it hit me. It's easy to talk about avoiding overload. It's not so easy to avoid burning out.
Well,
And
and a lot of people, they really yearn for achievement, and we live in, again, an achievement-oriented society in a lot of ways. The more you achieve, the more you are reinforced, the more you are rewarded, socially and monetarily, right? So it can be easy to get stuck in that kind of rut. And
right,
it can also seem like never enough. It's almost like a drug. You always want more, right? Like
right.
I got to write another book. I got to do another conference. I got to do another thing so that I can get more praise or whatever, or more financial reward.
Right.
So that, I mean, a person who is living like that, they're kind of living the life of an addict, if you ask me. Yeah. I don't think it's not the worst kind of addiction because you could still be contributing in ways. But you're still neglecting yourself in a profound way.
Yes, and probably neglecting the most important people in your life,
That too.
you
That too.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, like I said, I've been there. And it's easy to go down that path when it seems like there's always another reward around the corner, that somebody has received more recognition than you have. Therefore, I must be seen as being as good or better than that person. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's easy to go down this path.
And I mean, I was going to bring into the conversation too. I don't think we live in a context that is continually trying to get us into that frame of mind. Like, be an achiever, show that you have worth through what you can accumulate. Um, like, uh, it is legitimate to neglect your health. These aren't things that people say outright and out loud, but it's still embedded in the I don't know, in the story, in the ways people tell stories about success and I mean, just the good old American dream. And I don't know if there's a movie out there that I've watched. I mean, there's so many movies I've watched that include the American dream, like someone in like difficult circumstances and sacrificing and not having very much to work with, working very hard, and then getting some big reward at the end of the movie, or even conquering all kind of thing, right? Like, I've watched a lot of movies like that in my life, and I think it's really embedded in me a philosophy, like almost like that's what it means to be a good human. That's what health and well-being is all about. It's about achievement, right?
Right, exactly. And you know what George Carlin said about the American dream, right?
Oh, yeah, you have to be
Yeah, it's
something.
called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Right. You have to be asleep. Yeah, to believe it. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he had an excellent way of putting things in the ways that would challenge the mainstream thinking. But I really don't think people realize how embedded we are, like how hypnotized. We're so hypnotized by the institutions that surround us and the different messages that they put out there in the advertising and in the stories and in the like I mean the movies and the television, the stories. And we on a nightly basis, right? Like, we take in the media, the Netflix and Amazon Prime and like and there's so many embedded messages in those shows, but we don't see it, right? We just think, oh, that's
Right,
a great show. That was very entertaining. Like, you just got programmed, buddy. Like
right, right,
but
exactly. All
but we
right.
don't we don't look at it that way.
Two
Yeah.
things I want to wrap with here. First of all, nobody has heard anything either of us said this whole video because the entertainment is right behind you on the bed.
Oh
Cody
yeah, yeah.
Cody is giving us all quite
Mhm.
a show.
Coda. It's called,
Coda.
yeah,
Okay, sorry
Coda. Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. There's those ears. Thanks.
He's
Yeah.
stretching, he's rolling over, he's looking around. He can't stand that the camera's on you and not on
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Anyway,
He's being very good boy.
and second, if you could wrap us with your free BP or free, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. The words don't come out of
Yeah,
my mouth.
my free mental health course. It's called the free BPD course. It's at freebpdcourse.com. I'll just yeah, quickly summarize. It's um, basically the story of my experience working through a borderline personality disorder, but also included in it is a bunch of resource material from other professionals that would kind of acknowledge and elaborate on every way that I've tried to understand every step of that process. So yeah, in a way, everything's kind of backed up. Whether it comes from, whether it's talking about childhood development, whether it's talking about ways you can get mixed up in different types of thought distortions, whether it's talking about ways that you get into patterns of emotional avoidance, and even getting into patterns of emotional avoidance so desperate that you would even be willing to sacrifice everything that's beautiful in your life. Anything to not feel, I think, is the kind of the motto for a lot of mental illness. Anything to not feel.
Wow.
If you're willing, if I mean, if you just say, even if you just say, I am going to learn I'm going to learn and develop a willingness to feel every human emotion. And I'm going to become friends with all of my emotions and use strategy to do that. If you got nothing else from my course, I would hope that that would be it because that would go a long ways in your stability. Yeah.
And I can understand the resistance too, because feeling sucks.
Well,
Feeling hurts.
people like some feelings, but then other feelings
Of course.
they kind of detest, especially feelings like guilt and shame and sadness, right? And people are even ashamed to admit that they have emotions. They're ashamed if they start to express emotions.
Right.
So I mean, it's kind of like, I'll just lastly say, emotions are like energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion. But I mean, we have come up with so many ways to block that flow of energy, right? Like by just stopping our speech, by putting it in a box. People often say, I just put it all in a box and I
Mhm.
shove it away, right? So like they're putting a dam in their system, just like you would put a dam in a river, and then there's all these consequences to putting a dam in a river, right? You
Yep,
know that all these fish die and
absolutely.
other awful things happen. There's consequences, and we're an organism like a river, I think. So
Right. Yes, there are consequences and mostly adverse consequences.
yeah.
Damming rivers and damming up your feelings. So, damn it, don't do that.
You're damn right. Right, that's right.
All right. Thank you, Peter. On to
Yeah.
the next version.